Happy Tuesday, everybody. It is 8:09 p.m. and I am recording this a little bit later than I originally wanted to. I like to go ahead and record my subject content, usually in the morning, but you know what? Better late than never. So here I am. I actually am all ready to go to bed, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to put on a quick jacket and pretend that I'm still in my day-to-day work attire. But you would never know unless I just said it. So, oops, cat's out of the bag. My bad. Oop. Okay, anyway. So let's hop into it. So the subject that I'd like to talk to you about today is going to be regarding down payment assistance. So I'm a fan of down payment assistance. I've used it in the past and it has helped. I used to teach the classes for down payment assistance, and I also used to help a majority of my clients as first-time home buyers with down payment assistance. So every state is a little bit different. You're going to want to go ahead and discuss with your lender and with your state regulators what programs are available for you, what programs are not available for you. A lot of times there is some underlying requirements. What I mean by that is when you have the normal lending, they're going to have their normal FICO score requirement. They're going to have their normal, debt to income ratios. They're going to have all of that information that you need to know in order to see if you qualify for just a normal loan. Well, the same thing goes with the down payment assistance. Down payment assistance is there. It's a great tool, but they're also going to have their underwriting guidelines that a buyer or borrower needs to make sure that they hit in order to qualify for it. Now, what's the beauty of it is that there are sometimes programs that you can kind of layer on top of one another. I used to work with a lender who I think she did like 7 different down payment assistance programs that the buyer was eligible for. I always imagine it kind of like a Rubik's Cube. You have to look at the buyer, you have to look at all of their potential, you have to look at what their debts are, you have to look at their credit score, you have to look at their income. And you have over here all these different programs, and then all over here the different loan products. And essentially you have to mesh it, right? And if one thing over here goes out of whack, it can affect something over here, it can affect something over here, it can affect something over here. And the goal of a great loan officer is for it to all mesh together, and that Rubik's Cube becomes solved, and essentially the buyer is able to purchase the home and then use as much down payment assistance as they were eligible for. So that being said, it is really important that whatever lender that you're using, that they completely understand the different products that are available. I got so many times people would ask me, well, why didn't they bring up this one? Well, why didn't they bring up this one? Why didn't they bring up this one? Well, realistically, you probably weren't eligible for it. And as I like to bring up in many cases, Dr. Google is not always our friend. Dr. Google sometimes can be a jerk. And we think we're eligible for something because Dr. Google said we are, but we're not. When we actually go to a doctor, we find out, oh, hey, you don't have 300 diseases, you have a headache. And so same thing over with lending or with anything that we do in life. Unless you actually find out from a professional what it is that you're actually qualifying for, you could be under the misguidance that you're eligible for all these different programs and you're not. Now, I'll be honest, there are lenders that there are challenging programs that they don't want to participate in, and they would rather it just not be as part of their portfolio, but it is. So when in doubt, I would always recommend that you ask. If you see something as a consumer and you're looking online, you're looking at Dr. Google and you're like, oh, hey, this program actually says I might be able to qualify, and you think you genuinely do, I would take that to your loan officer and I would say, hey, this is what I found. Am I eligible for it? And either they're going to say you are or you aren't. And then if they say that you aren't, it's good for education purposes and finding out why you're not. Now, why this is also critical to let your agent know what kind of programs that you're using is because it is imperative in the contract that we write that we're putting down what type of financing. So when I first started doing DPA, I was a little bit, I thought you could just put the financing as FHA, conventional. But in reality, you have to address that you're doing a down payment assistance because they have a whole other program that you have to be eligible for. So even if you're doing all the underwriting on your loan with whatever bank XYZ, then you have to go ahead and they have to resubmit the file to the commission of your state, and they have to get an approval from there. And if you don't get the approval from there, then your loan's not necessarily going to go through. So you do have to be very transparent with anything in your contracts, just making sure that it's all said and done, that you are fully 100% protected by just exposing everything, being transparent as possible. Because at the end of the day, that's really what it is. Be transparent with your contracts, be transparent with your files, be transparent the whole time, because it will catch up with you, period. It just does. So now whenever I do write a contract that is using down payment assistance, I always make sure that I check mark what type of program that they're using, so that way the listing agent is aware of what that is. And then if I see certain indicators on the contract that's coming through on my listings, when I'm vetting with the lender, I will ask them if they're using down payment assistance. There have been a couple times where the lenders thought that their company was approved through the commission and they were not. So if you're a loan officer, my biggest recommendation is, if you have not done a DPA loan with your state or with your company, make sure you have all the credentials. I'm sure you will, but I'm just saying, just do that little bit of extra diligence, because that will make a huge difference. Believe me, it definitely does. So essentially, the other thing to know, and I try to keep these really short, and that's, again, I've said this a few times, this is the reason that I talk fast, because I'm getting it all out there. But the other reason the other thing you really know is, okay, well, how does the loan get paid back? Because it's essentially a loan, right? Well, it becomes a silent second on your mortgage. So there's 2 deeds of trust that are recorded. There's the one deed of trust that is for your main mortgage holder, whether that's Home Street Bank, or if that's US Bank, or if that's Chase, or whatever bank it is that you're using, Guild Mortgage, PRMG, any of those. That's going to be your main deed of trust. Your silent second is going to be with your down payment assistance. Now, here's the thing that's really, again, critical to know. A lot of times when people are going through the mortgage process, they're shopping out rates, right? And understandably so. Rates have been wackadoodle for the last couple years. With the down payment assistance, you do not have the luxury of going ahead and shopping a rate. Because there's no interest that is paid on the down payment assistance, the commission is going to set the interest rate. So the commission will say it's 6%. You can buy down a point, which that could be another subject of conversation that we talk about, but this is just the nuts and bolts. But they're going to say this is what the set interest rate is. You're never going to make a payment on it, so you're not going to get a coupon book. You're not going to do any of that. You are just solely going to go ahead and make a payment on your main mortgage. Now, what will happen, though, is when you sell your house, if you refinance your house, if you transfer your house, any of those things to another person, a new deed of trust is going to be originated because you're no longer the owner. Or if you're refinancing, you're getting a payoff, right? So in those instances, it is going to show up as that silent second. So that will have to be paid back. It will. Unless you are getting a grant does not have to be paid back, because it's exactly that, a grant. But the down payment assistance second is a second loan. It's a silent loan. And again, you're not going to have a mortgage on it. You're not going to have any of that. It's going to be, I'm paying off a loan. I get my loan payoff at $100,000. I borrowed $10,000. In order for me to pay off my loan and transfer the deed over to the new person, I'm going to have to pay that $100,000, and I'm going to have to pay that $10,000 back. That's just how it works. So I think a lot of people will get confused because they can't remember the dollar amount sometimes, whether they borrowed 3%, 3.5%, 5%, whatever amount that it is that they borrowed from the down payment assistance. But have no fear. It's okay. This is why you have the professionals. This is why you have people to find this information out for you. This is why you have escrow who gets a payoff. And they're looking at your title. They're looking at any clouds, meaning any encumbrances, anything that's on that title that could be a concern, anything that needs to be paid off, liens. So they got you back. Your loan officer, your lender will want clear title before everything is said and done from a new lender to an old lender. So they're going to make sure that the Washington State Commission does not want any extra money because that's a lien against the property and that impacts their value. So you have your loan officer that's looking out for you, the new buyer. Your agent should ask the question whether or not you got down payment assistance, especially prevalent if you bought your home anywhere between 2016 to 2021, because that's where we really saw a majority of those down payment assistance programs go out. But it's also just a really good question to get in the habit of, because again, it's just really important to know what your net proceeds are going to be as a seller. And it's really important for you as a buyer to know, okay, how is this going to look in the future for me on this property? So anyway, with that being said, it is 8:20. My voice is going hoarse because it has been a long day. I would say that I've been on a lot of phone calls, but I have been, but I haven't been, but I have. So interpret that for what you may. Tomorrow's going to be another busy day, and I will sometime post this content. I'm going to have my husband send this over right now to YouTube. And yeah, other than that, have a great evening. Everyone, peace out and have a great one.